And you're welcome. It's time for us to get into our Wellness Central. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on a lesser-known but significant learning disorder. It's called dyscalculia. Often described as math dyslexia, dyscalculia affects an individual's ability to understand numbers, learn arithmetic, and perform mathematical tasks. While many people struggle with math, for individuals with dyscalculia, it's a persistent difficulty that goes beyond a lack of effort or practice. Now, despite its impact, this condition is often overlooked or misunderstood, leaving many children and adults without the support they need to thrive academically and socially.
So today we're joined by Dr. Chibuki Aigbe, convener of the Lord Spectrum, to help us better understand what dyscalculia is and how we can support those affected. Now, Dr. Chibuki, you're welcome. But first, I must also tell our viewers that there is a reason why this came to note. Because during the week, there was a very interesting piece of social media fodder that went very viral. I'm going to save that until the middle of our questioning or interaction with Dr. Chibuki before we play it. Dr. Chibuki, first off, let's have a full definition of what dyscalculia is and how it relates to dyslexia, which we had spoken on this show, on this platform, about from before.
It's one of the, so first and foremost, thanks for inviting me and having me here.
Thank you for coming on.
Dyscalculia is one of the very commonest, one of the common learning disabilities. It's second, very close to dyslexia, which is the inability or difficulty in reading. And then there's dyscalculia, where there's difficulty in understanding and solving math problems. And then very closely, another common learning disability is dysgraphia, difficulty in writing. So those are the three common learning disabilities. There are others, but yes, so dyscalculia that we're talking about today is difficulty in understanding math and mathematical problems.
Okay, so this would also mean that it is difficult to identify numbers, especially when they're drawn out and not written out in words. Am I correct?
Very correct. So in the staging or in identifying children or even adults who have dyscalculia, you know, for children, they can't even mathematical symbols like the plus sign, is difficult to identify, difficult to understand. Simple math problems, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, writing the figures. Even in kids, they can't write, they can't recognize the figures, and they can't even count upward. Okay, in kids in primary school, middle school, pre-teens, they can't count backwards. They can't memorize simple formulas. They can't also read and understand math problems, which, you know, like if you're writing common entrance, that's very important for you to do. And even in adults, so adults can't, they can't abstractly understand or quantify numbers. So if you say, give me a cup of Gary, they really can't measure what a cup of Gary is. They might end up giving you like a paint bucket of Gary, for example. You know, so those are the signs that are imminent in people who have dyscalculia.
So now that we have defined what it is, I would like you to please tell us, we're about to play a clip. I need you to tell us whether this could be considered a case of dyscalculia, and then after that, maybe proceed to telling us why it is such a struggle with this individual. So if we can have that video of the governor of Edo State right now to, well, buttress our point from what we're saying. Let's play this.
Edo State 2025 appropriation bill of 605 billion 76 million 76. Let me take it again. 506 billion 605 billion. Sorry, 776 billion. Sorry, it's confusing me. Sorry. Since
order in the house, please. Mr. Speaker must be held in silence, please.
605 billion, and details of the budget proposal for your consideration and approval. Thank you for your kind consideration.
So Dr. Chibuki, that wasn't the only video we wanted to show. So we took that figure and then we took it to the streets where we asked people what it was, and this was what we came up with.
605 billion, 23 million, 500,000, 326. 605 billion, 23 million, 500,000, 326.
605 billion. 200. Oh, man. Bro, I don't know him. I don't know him. Start again. I don't know him. Thank you. But a billion did it. A billion. I try now.
705 billion, 423 million, 500,000, 326 naira.
605 billion naira, 76 million, 65,857 naira, 34 kobo.
605 billion and 76 million and 65,000 and 857 naira and 34 kobo.
605 million, 706,000, 605 billion, 706 million, 605,857 naira 34 kobo.
600 billion. This is 605 billion.
Try.
Okay. 6 billion. 605 billion. 106. 600 billion. 767,000 million.
Okay. 605 billion. 76 million, 65,857 naira 34 kobo.
All right, that's great. I done mine already in the morning. So Judith, it's your turn.
Of course, I know it now.
Here we go.
I know it now.
Let's have it.
605 billion, 76 million, 65,857 naira, 34 kobo.
She had practice.
And I had practice. So, I mean, look, there's always an argument about whether or not Nigerians have an issue with numbers. We always spew out numbers which is interesting, right? So, looking at that video and looking at the cross-section of our interviewees, one has to ask the question, is it an anxiety issue? Is this a cultural norm that we actually don't have a concept of numbers? Or is this a rampant case of dyscalculia? Dr. Chibuki.
So the first video, it's very possible that the governor of Edo State has or may have dyscalculia. However, one video is not enough for us to clinch a diagnosis.
Right.
I mean, there could be a number of reasons. He could have had a bad day. He could have whatever it is. I don't think that's enough for us to clinch a diagnosis of dyscalculia. However, seeing the other video, off the top of my head, I would blame a very poor education system because we try a wide, number of people, and just a handful got it. So yes, there's a place for anxiety, there's a place for poor education, and of course, dyscalculia. So one video is not enough, but it was quite disappointing having seen that video.
And disappointing for seeing that video, also concerning to see a public official not being able to reel out the budget numbers that he was presenting to the House, which is for the people of his constituency. And so, as a parent watching this, you ruled out that sometimes they're able to not identify the numbers. They don't know, multiplication signs or even mathematics signs. They can mistake numbers. Just really the skills and the tools that they need to learn math is an issue. As a parent watching this, what am I supposed to be looking at? And how best can I diagnose this? Or what should I be concerned about to bring them to specialists? And who am I going to?
Where?
Where do I even go to?
I'm so thankful for programs like this because not everything is Olodo. We're very, very easy to turn people Olodo in this side of the world, and I've never really been able to understand why. My inability to understand simple math problems doesn't necessarily mean that I am dull. It's just a learning disability, so I need to be assisted to learn. Having said that, 1/3 of people who have dyscalculia can only just have problems with math, but another 2/3 have a comorbidity, which is this dyslexia I had spoken about, which is the disability to read and recognize letters, confused letters like D and B, and things like that. So it's important as a parent, if you see your child with any disability, you need to speak, first and foremost, you need to monitor your child. One child, if you have one child, monitor that child. Second child, go through their, results, go through their homework with them, discuss, concerns with their teachers, with their principal, and put in more efforts where the child has difficulties learning. If your child is, despite all your own personal efforts and the school efforts, then you need to speak with a doctor, a developmental specialist, a psychiatrist, or an ABA specialist. These are people who that's ABA, applied behavioral analysis therapists or specialists. These are people who can help break down learning as a whole into smaller bits that is easy for the child to assimilate and learn, and figure out, teach the child other ways to go about their daily tasks, because whether we like it or not, education is to help us with our daily tasks first off. So if like I had mentioned, how adults are unable to quantify certain volumes, for example, maybe when they're baking or they're cooking, is to teach the child, okay, this is what this visibly looks like. This is what 1 teaspoon looks like. This is what 1 derica of rice looks like. And then, you just try to monitor progress and record this progress.
Okay. Dr. Chibuki, could it also have been a case of anxiety in the case of the Edo State governor? Because perhaps maybe it was the first. Go ahead.
It's difficult to say. I mean, we don't know what happened before. We don't know what would happen prior. Maybe that was not the figure he had written, and now he's presenting. It's really difficult to say from a very short video. It is embarrassing, like I had mentioned, but that has happened. Let's see how he presents other figures.
Okay.
And I think as an advice, I would advise that they write words and figures. Like I said, your inability to recognize numbers doesn't really necessarily make you intellectually slower than the others.
Right. I mean, I'm glad you said that, because when I was watching it, I kept wondering, why did they not put it in full words? You know what I mean? Because even when you go to the bank back in those days and you're filling out the bank draft, there's always a part for you to fill out the numbers in words, So I was like, why didn't this is as simple as ABCD? He was kind of getting it right, and then after a while, he just stumbled, and it just made a mess of everything, and ended up at 705 billion. And
that's why I thought the anxiety, perhaps.
So that's why I think, yeah.
To add to that, even though there are some certain skills we must possess as we move along our career, maybe as public speakers or not even public speakers, and that's why people join debating club, debating and literary club, all those things. They set you up not necessarily for public speaking, but for you to be able to articulate your thoughts.
Right.
And because we never know where even though I'm a medical doctor, I'm here, I'm speaking, I have been able to learn this as an additional skill. So it's also important that we should improve ourselves as we go along, because who knows, I might be the governor.
So I hear you there. There is a place for active learning oratory skills, and especially in public, especially for people who believe that they're going to be using this to serve people and so on and so forth. However, how responsible are we as caregivers, parents, or teachers when it comes to dyscalculia? Are we stressing children too much? Are we making them hate math? What are we doing wrong?
Yeah, very correct. Because my fear of math came from my parents.
math teacher, actually, Mr.
My
Okeke.
fear of math came from my father, and then my math teacher.
Mr. Okeke, if he's listening, I love you, but you scared me.
Yeah, they scared us. It was a lot of
whose
fear.
fault is it?
I must mention that there is a familial responsibility, genetic, responsibility
Factors.
in how you having dyscalculia or any of the other learning disabilities. So it is very familiar. So yes, there's your genes that you cannot change. You cannot, there are non-modifiable factors. However, yes, our educational system might be creating some sort of aversion to mathematics and mathematical problems. And I say this because I have a 4-year-old who can write 1 to 200, and I'm like, okay, hope this is not going to stress this child. And I have her counterpart in United States is just learning 1 to 5, learning to write 1 to 5. So it's important that our educational system makes learning fun. So yes, my child can write 1 to 4, but I know that learning that 1 to 4 was actually made fun. It wasn't, you must know it. In primary school, how we learned 2 times table was 2 times 1, 2, 2 times 2, 4, 2 times 3, it became a song, right?
Yes.
But I know that how they teach them now is a little different. In fact, even simple math problems, you ask my daughter 10 over 4, and she'll tell you 10 on my head, 4 on my hand. And she says 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's not how we were taught. Do you understand? So it's important that we teach children, you make them healthy habits, healthy learning habits, so that they don't form an aversion to mathematics or any other subject.
And what about adults who already have this condition? What can they do now?
First and foremost, you must self-improve. You must put yourself first. It's very important to learn how to first identify that you have a problem and know how to manage your problem so that it's not exposed to the world. Just like, for example, if the Edo State governor does have dyscalculia, then his team should know that and know that next time you write in words and figures, for example. Again, it's important that you self-improve yourself, look for cues, look for easier ways to, I remember, for example, for people who have dyslexia, right, they can't tell left and right. So some people mark themselves. I'm not an advocate for self-harming, but I don't mean permanent marks. You can write L on one hand, you can write R on one hand. So cues are very important for you to develop as you move along.
Interesting. And really, I mean, this has been a very, very, very insightful discussion, I must say, Doctor. But if someone is watching this and they're looking at this and it's like, wait, I think that I do have the dyscalculia, what would be the very first step for them? The very first step?
Seek help from a special medical doctor. There are groups. Can we hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay, so there are support groups that, you can meet people who are having similar experiences such as you. You can encourage yourselves, join one, find one near you and encourage yourselves. Also speak to a professional, okay? And peradventure, you don't even have dyscalculia. Maybe you had very poor learning efforts as you were growing up. It's important that you seek to educate yourself as an adult.
I mean, Doctor, this has been sublime. We want to say thank you so much for taking out the time this morning to join us and just shedding light on dyscalculia. It seems like a word that I've never seen before, interesting enough, but all of a sudden I'm like, what the?
It's the Dracula word.
It's like a Dracula, dyslexia.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been wonderful. We appreciate you for coming on and just giving us a great understanding. And we do hope that individuals who have this can go to the right support systems and just parents also be on alert as well as educators and guardians. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chibuki.